We are going to take notes on lesson 5 today. Lesson 5 is called More Two-Step Equations in your note packet. If you have your note packet, you see that title and your learning target says, I can solve more two-step equations. That will be hopefully the goal by the end of the lesson. If you don't have a note packet, get that title written in your learning log along with the learning target. I can solve more two-step equations. We're actually going to look at this lesson in two parts. So we will do the first part now, and then we will come back and do part 2. All right, let's start. What property is being demonstrated here? So 2 times the quantity 4x minus 7. What property is being shown? If you said the distributive property, you are correct. Hopefully you have remembered that. Distributive property. And what the distributive property means, just to remind you, I'm not going to write this down, but you are welcome to write it down, is you take the coefficient that is outside the parenthesis and multiply it by all of the terms inside the parenthesis. All of the terms, okay? So what that looks like with our example, we would take the coefficient, which is 2, and we're going to do 2 times 4x and 2 times negative 7. Once we've written it like that, then we do the math, right? 2 times 4x is 8x, and 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. So after distribution, our expression then becomes 8x minus 14. We did that practice in our expressions work. Just wanted to remind you of that because we're going to be using the distributive property in solving our more two-step equations. All right, so how do I solve more two-step equations? I've got the steps listed for you. If you have the note packet, if you don't, please list them out. They're in blue here on the side. You're going to distribute first, take that coefficient and do that distribution. And then you're going to look to zero pair the constants and then divide by the coefficient of the variable term to get that coefficient to 1. So 2 and 3 go back to our two-step equation work. We're just adding that first step of that distribution first. All right, so in our first example, 3 times the quantity x plus 5 equals 45. 3 is my coefficient, so I'm going to distribute 3 to 1x. Remember, we write that coefficient of 1 in when it's not written, and 3 times 5. We do not distribute the 3 to the 45. The 45 was not in the parenthesis, so it is not part of the distribution. Plus, it's on the other side of the equation, okay? So you only distribute to what's in this parenthesis here. 3 times 1x is 3x. 3 times 5 is positive 15, and that's equal to 45. All right, so we did step 1. Now we're going to do step 2. We're going to zero pair the constants. Remember, the constant is what is being added or subtracted to the variable term. So in this case, our constant is a positive 15. So we're going to do negative 15 on both sides of the equation to zero pair that constant. Remember Sophia's rule? If you have a positive and negative of the same number, you've made 0. I see a positive 15 and a negative 15, so that did make 0. And then just bring down what you have left. There's a 3x, and we have some math to do on the right side of the equal sign. And don't forget your equal sign. 45 minus 15 is 30. 4 minus 1 is 3. 5 minus 5 is 0. We have 3x equals 30. We need our variable term to have a coefficient of 1. So in order to get that coefficient of 1, we divide both sides by the coefficient of 3. This goes back to our one-step equation work. 3x divided by 3 is 1x. And 30 divided by 3, how many 3's go into 30? That would be 10. We think the solution to make our equation true for x is 10. Now we're going to check that. Remember, your check is substitution. So rewrite your equation so you see your equation, and then perform that substitution with what you think your solution is. I think x is 10. So I'm going to rewrite this without an x, but with a 10 in x's place. And then I'm going to do the math. I'm not just going to say it works. I'm going to do the math. PEMDAS tells me to do parentheses first. So the 3 just hangs out, and 10 plus 5 is 15. Now I need to do 3 times 15. I might have to do some side math. 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Left side is 45. Right side is 45. So our solution was correct. 1x equals 10. Let's look at another. Negative 7 times the quantity 6 plus d equals 49. We're going to follow the same 3 steps. Okay, you don't see them written here, but we're going to follow them. Distribute that coefficient to the expression in parentheses first. So I'm going to do negative 7 times 6 and negative 7 times 1d. Put that coefficient of 1 in there. The equal sign now separates the sides. Nothing happens to 49 yet. Okay, it was not part of that parenthesis. Negative 7 times 6 is a negative 42. Negative 7 times 1d is negative 7d. And that's equal to 49. All right, we did the distribution. Now we need to zero pair the constant. The constant in this case is a negative 42. The opposite of negative 42 is positive 42. Now check, do you have a true zero pair? Is one negative and one positive of the same number? Yes. So we have negative 7d. I'm going to bring it over here. Negative 7d equals 49 plus 42. That's going to be 91. 9 plus 2 is 11. Carry the 1. 4 plus 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9. And then our step 3 is to get the coefficient of the variable term into 1. I'm just going to rewrite that because it didn't really look like a D, did it? Right now it's negative 7. So we've got to divide by that coefficient. Negative 7d divided by negative 7 is a 1d. And 91 divided by 7. Well, I'm not sure about that, so I'm going to do my side math here. 7 goes into 9 once. 9 minus 7 is 2. Oh, 7 goes into 21 13 times. So that did work. 91 divided by negative 7. Remember, a positive divided by negative is a negative 13. All right, so I think my solution is negative 13. But I'm going to check it. It's negative 7 times 6 plus d equals 49. Check is substitution. I think d is negative 13 to make the equation true. So I'm going to put negative 13 where d is. And then I'm going to do the math. 6 plus negative 13. All right, parentheses first. positive 6 plus a negative 13, that's a battle. So I subtract them. That would be 7. And 13 is a greater distance from 0. So it's a negative 7. A negative 7 times a negative 7, that's going to be positive. A negative times a negative is a positive. And 7 times 7 is 49. So I got 49 on the left of my equal sign and 49 on the right of my equal sign. My solution of D equals negative 13 is true. Now we're going to skip these two in the middle for right now, but don't cross them out. That will be part 2. That will be a separate video. And we're going to go down to the last one. 22x plus 2 times the quantity 3x plus 5 equals 66. All right, what you're going to notice is there is a term before our distribution here. So we've made our equation a little more complicated. That's all right. We're still going to follow the same steps, and we're going to distribute first. Now, when we distribute, this 22x just stays 22x. Nothing happens to it. It's not part of the distribution. It's before it. Now I'm going to distribute a 2 to the 3x and a 2 to the 5. I'm not going to distribute a 2 to the 66 because that's on the other side of the equal sign and was not part of the parenthesis. All right, now let me see what I have here. I have 22x. 2 times 3x is positive 6x. 2 times 5 is positive 10. And then 66. Now what I hope you notice back from our expression days is I have 2 variable terms that are like terms. They both have the same variable. So I can combine those like terms to one variable term. I have 22 x's and 6 more x's, both positive. So if I combine those, I get 28x plus 10 equals 66. Now I have a 2-step equation. So it took a little more work with that extra term outside of our distribution, but we combined the like terms and got it to a 2-step. All right, step 2, 0 pair your constant. My constant is positive 10. That's what's being added to the variable term. So I'm going to negative 10 both sides. Check. I have a positive 10 and a negative 10. That does make 0. So I have 28x equals 66 minus 10, brings me down to 56. All right, I'm going to move this up here. 28x equals 56. How do I solve for 1x? Because my coefficient needs to be 1. You divide by the current coefficient, which is 28. 28x divided by 28 simplifies to 1x. What's 56 divided by 28? It's actually 2. 2 28s make 56. You can check that with some side math over here. 28, 28. Yep. Okay, so I think the solution that would make this equation true is 2. Now I'm going to check it. When I check it, I rewrite the original equation just as it was. And I'm going to substitute that 2 wherever there is an x. So I'm actually going to do it in 2 places this time. I'm going to do 22 times 2 plus 2 times 3 times 2 plus 5. Ooh, do I have a lot of math to do here. Start in your parentheses. 22 times 2, we can just do that as 44 and just leave that guy there. And then in the parentheses here, 3 times 2 is 6. So we have 6 plus 5. Okay, we still got that 44. 6 plus 5 is 11. We still got that 44 plus 22. 2 times 11. 44 plus 22 is 66. So our left side is 66, and so is our right. All right. Get these notes ready. Bring them for practice.